What's going on, everybody? LAMBO here. Today we're going to talk about 3 methods to make a child collision. Now, what exactly is a child collision? On most vehicle mods, you're going to have multiple sets of box collisions. This is stuff that allows you to pick up and move somewhat realism. Giants uses this box. It's kind of a barbaric collision system, but they use this box system. And if we activate our dev command hitting F5, if you don't know how to activate your dev consoles, I'll put a link up in the cards on how to activate that. But when we hit F5, we will see these little square boxes all around the vehicle here. And if you look in the very back where the tire well is, that is a child collision. The main body collision is different from child collisions. They are called child because they are under the parent vehicle. That's what this, where the cab is, you'll see that big collision right there. And they have to be somewhat coded. They're kind of challenging to make, but once you figure it out, they're pretty easy. So the next thing we would want to do is, how do we get one into our mods? My first method is going to be steal it from another mod. Most of the in-game trucks, trailers, stuff like that, they all have collisions that you can steal, and I'll show you how. Just make sure while you're working with any of these vehicles that are inside your game already, you do not hit save. This is super important because you will have to re-download everything. Basically refresh your game if you mess up one of the in-game vehicles. So, and let's not do that. So as we go in here, we will see the truck right here, but the collisions are going to be located under here. Collisions part 1, 3, 4, 5. And these are different. We'll look at the main body collision right here. See how it's checked with compound child. You cannot click it, and you couldn't even make your own if you wanted to and make it a child collision because it says unclickable. But if we click on one of these smaller ones, we'll go to rigid body, and it's already checked, but you can't even uncheck it. How do we get that out? Well, a couple of ways. The simple way of stealing it, you just click on the collision you want. So say I want this. No, that one's lame. We want a perfect box. So here's a perfect box. When you're looking at it, you want this little doohickey, the controller. I don't know. I don't remember the proper name for this thing, but you want to make sure that it's in the center of the collision. Super important there. It could make some weird offsets when it comes to the weight distribution. So now that we have selected, we will go to export selection up here, and then we'll just export that to my desktop, whatever. After we export it, then you can import that into your mod and size it, adjust it. Your big thing here is when you're, say we have a really wide bed truck. Obviously this isn't a wide bed truck, but let's just say that it is. We will go to our transform scaling here, and child collisions and collisions in general need to be zeroed out. So from here, how do I get that to go away, the 1.9? Because as soon as you load that up in game, it's gonna act a little funky on you and it will go back to its original size. So in order to make that stay forever, you go to freeze transformation. You want to uncheck translate because it's usually stock already checked when you open this up, and you want to click scale, and then you would hit apply, and then this would zero, this wouldn't, not zero out, but just one out, I guess, and that's because the scale is 111. So after you do all your fine adjustments, say you want a collision right where a hitch would be, like for a trailer or whatever not, you zero this out, you hit apply scale, and then boom, you have just stolen a child collision. Now we're going to move on to the next method, and that's making one from inside the editor itself using primitives. I have here a smelter I designed for my scrap pack, but the collision is a little funky. I don't like it. I want to make a different one, and its center axis is way off put. So we are going to go up to create, go to primitives, cube, and you can use any one of those designs. Just keep in mind that it reverts back to a very simple box-like structure. Let's design it up really quick and make it the size we want it. All right, now that's good enough there. I like that. That's pretty simple. We're just going to copy the name. You don't have to do this. I just need to do it so I can find it inside of the editor here. I'll copy and paste it inside of the collision. Then I'm going to hit save. Once I hit save, I need to first out scale this out. This needs, remember what we said, this needs to be all zeroed out. We'll go right click, freeze transformations, uncheck translate, check scale, hit apply. Now we're all zeroed out. Now it's not a rigid body at all. Don't mind this, I just bugged me. This clip distance, I like to change it just in case. It's how far you can view it, so I can view this collision 200 meters away. We're gonna click the rigid body and we're gonna get an error here. Warning, cooking mesh. Don't worry about that right now. Once we hit save, it'll revert itself out. But when we click on rigid body, I cannot check the compound child box at all. But on this one, it does have it checked. So let's hit save. And we're going to press this little button right here, Open i3D and Text Edit. Now, if you don't have your text editor set up, go up to Preferences, External Tools, Text Editor, go find your Notepad++ and assign it in here for external tool. So now we're going to open it up in our text editor. And once we open it up here, we are going to scroll all the way down until we can find that part we made some collisions here. See if we can't find it. Coal part new. I named it different so I could easily find it in here. When we go through and we start reading about it, you'll see the part right above it says compound child true, but this one does not. So the easiest way to do that is going to be copy this little section of code, and I usually don't recommend people be playing around in the i3D. This is a good way to mess up your mod, but if you just add this one line here, compound child true, it should make that a child compound. So let's hit save and let's open back up this bad boy, hit refresh. Now let's go look at that collision and see if the box is checked. Compound child, rigid body, and it is now checked. In order to finalize this, what I like to do is I take the collision mask 2002, or you can most of the time use the main collision mask off of this guy, and we're going to copy and paste that into the collision mask. Hit enter to seal the deal, because sometimes it doesn't like set it in stone. If your, see my box is invisible, but if I visualize it, I can go to shape and I can go non-renderable. Now you can't see the box no matter what. And we have a child collision, so I can delete this other one and boom, now we have a collision there. Let's load it up in game just for the hell of it. Okay, now I have it loaded up in game, and what we are going to do is press F5 and it'll show all of our collisions. You can see we have this nice perfect square collision there. The best star built, right? It's pretty primitive, you won't notice. There is other ways to make it and we'll cover that next, but this works very well for people have an issue. And to test it out, I've already purchased a truck to end it. So we're just gonna back up and try to smack it and show you that the collisions do work. Back up. Boom! Works perfect. It stops us. You want to make sure you don't cover the hitch hookup spot. I don't think this is the right trailer hookup for this. I think it's something else. But as you can see, the collision works perfectly. Alright, now on to the final method. So I open up the editor and say I need a reference to be able to build up this collision in Blender. I'm just going to select the main part that I want to build a collision around. After I have it selected here, I will go to File, Export Selection, change this file type to an OBJ, and I'm just going to throw it in my random exports folder. Hit save, and it should export that out. Now I'm going to open up Blender, and I have to warn you, I do not use the new Blender. I use Blender 2.79, so this is where I struggle helping because a lot of people are using the new Blender, and I actually haven't learned the new Blender yet. So I got Blender open here, and we're going to import in our OBJ. After I import it in my OBJ, we will start to size up this collision. If I can find it, smelter, export, delete. Okay, now that I have it here, make a collision in this general area, so I need to put my cursor over here as best I can. So I'm going to import in just a normal cube, and now we're going to start sizing it down. Giants is really weird. It only likes simple, non-complex collisions, and if you don't make a simple, non-complex collisions, it will make one for you out of what you made. Pre-warning. We got something pretty general. I think it'll work just fine. Size this a little bit. There. That's more of a triangle collision rather than going with the box one like we had the last time. Affection some things, but not all. Okay, now that we have this, I'm going to hit Control Shift Alt C, and we're going to origin to geometry. Once we have geometry, you need to have this little i3D importer tool installed, and I believe it's the same for the newer versions of Blender. But after you install it, you'll be able to click this button, open up this little panel here, and we'll go to Attribute. We're going to uncheck Static, and we're going to check the compound child. Make sure cast shadows, receive shadows is on, and I'm going to hit apply selected. From there, I'm going to export it out as an i3D. Make sure we check export selected, export i3D. Now we should be able to go back into here. There's our old collision. We're going to leave that in there for right now. We're going to import. Find wherever you exported it out. We're going to import it in. And you see right here that the scaling and all that stuff, you can go into Blender and do the apply rotation and scale and then import in, or you can just do the whole freeze transformation things, make sure none of the else are checked, just the scale. But you notice it says compound child collision and it's checked, but we still need to apply the collision mask to it. And it's going to copy it into our collisions transform group, delete the old one here. We need to go through and make it non-renderable. Oh, no space. Game doesn't like spaces, but I will make sure that it's in. Okay, so now that should be in. Let's open back up our game. So I got something that will actually hook up to it now. You'll notice our old collision is still there. I haven't changed the game out yet. It's still the same one we watched from a little bit ago, right? So I'm going to attach to it. Now that it's all lifted up and it's attached, we can open up our dev command. Look at that, I got a discharge sound there. I guess I can fix that later on in life. So we're going to find GS upper V vehicle reload. And when we hit this, make sure you watch that collision. It's now changed. I never even had to shut down the game and zip up the mod and reload it, all that kind of stuff. But that collision is now fully active. I'm going to get rid of the dev command. We're going to detach from it. And you can see that it works just perfect. No issues. It's nice and clean collision. And there we go. That is my 3 methods of making a compound child collision. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like so I can keep making more. You know, I don't make these for my own good. I make these for you guys, so help a brother out. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.